And what is up, everyone? I am Joe DeHoyos. I am host of Beyond the Woodline. Real quick before we get started, for those who don't know, I am the executive director of the JRG, which stands for the Jevning Research Group, headed up and founded by Mr. William Jevning. The guy's got like 50 plus years of experience in the Bigfoot field. He was friends with Renee DeHenden and John Green, two of the guys, two of the four guys that were considered the pioneers of the Bigfoot research world. Yeah, he was friends with these guys since he was a teenager, so he's got a lot of experience. And we have teams in Florida, Louisiana, here in Texas, where I'm at, New Mexico, California, Oregon, Ohio, Michigan, Maine, Delaware. I'm missing a few more states, I know, but if you guys are interested and you guys want to join this team, let me know. Shoot me an email, beyond.woodline@gmail.com. We'll get you guys started. And even if there's a team in your state and you want to start your own team, you're welcome to do that. We also network with a bunch of other teams. We know people all over the country, really all over the world. So if you want to network with somebody, let us know. We'll hook you guys up with them. But we do vet you and we will vet them. We just don't start throwing people together. So unfortunately, there are some crazy people out there in this world. And we want everybody to take care of each other, really. Uh, and always research the researcher. That's what we always say if we're going to go out with somebody. With all that being said, I know you guys don't tune in just to hear me ramble on all night long. I have with me Mr. Al Santariga. Did I say your name right? I wanted to say it right. I meant
Absolutely, yes. You
Okay,
said it
Santariga.
perfect.
Okay, because that was one of the things I wanted to ask you while we were talking, but I forgot. So cool, man. So if you don't mind now, you want to go by Al or Alfred? I guess Al.
Al. Everybody calls
Okay.
me Al.
Okay. Well, Al, real quick, tell us a little bit about yourself and what got you started into this crazy world.
Okay. I come from a family of my mom's a psychic, and my brother was one of the first parapsychologists in the United States. My grandmother was a white witch. I had an aunt who was a white witch, and I had a cousin who was a black witch. So the paranormal was normal in my house growing up as a kid. Um, had my first UFO experience at the age of 10, had my first Sasquatch experience at the age of 12. And, just came natural to me. And I just, at my brother's advice, he said, why don't you put a team together and start doing your own research? And I said, okay. And I put a team together and we started researching and doing all kinds of stuff. And one thing led to another. And here I am.
Cool, man. That's a pretty cool story. So like one of the things I wanted to ask you was was there any certain event that set you down the path that you're on right now? Because you could have easily have said, you know what, that's for other people. I don't want to do this, but here you are doing it. So was there any specific event that set you down that path?
Yeah. When I was about 5 years old, yeah, it was definitely around 5 years old. My grandmother lived with us. My family's from Italy, and my grandmother only spoke Italian. And she lived with us and she passed away. And when she passed away, I got her room, I got her bed, I got her everything. And I moved into her room. And for the first week, I mean, back in the old days, I used to have wakes for like 3 days in a row, so twice a day. And for the first week after she passed, she would come to visit me at night and tuck me in.
Oh,
And she would talk to me in Italian and this, that, and the other thing. And she would say, don't worry, it's okay, everything is fine, I'm fine, everybody's fine. And I couldn't tell my father because he didn't believe in the paranormal, even though he's seen a ghost run through the engine block of his car. He didn't believe in it. And
oh,
but I told
really?
yeah, and I told my mom, who she was a psychic, and she would have people come to her all the time when she slept. She was talking all night long. She would talk all night long. And whenever anybody in the family died, whether it was actually blood relatives or someone close that grew up with the family, like my old neighborhood, everybody was from the same village in Italy. You know what I mean? So everybody was
Right.
paisans. So if somebody would die, they would always go to my mother. And it didn't matter if my mother was in Florida visiting my sister or in Italy visiting her relatives in Italy. My mother would see him first. And then she'd call New York and say, go check on this one, go check on that one. And when we would go check, we would find out they had passed, you know? So when my grandmother came to me and I told my mom about it, my mother was like, yeah, don't tell your father, you know, but don't worry, you know, she's just here to tuck you in because, you know, she loves you and this, that, and the other thing. And that was like my very first paranormal experience, you know, at 5 years old. And like I said, just my family used to do seances, my aunts, the white witches. And I would go over like my cousin Dino's house and they would all be in the living room with a candelabra going, right? And they would be doing tarot cards. I never used Ouija boards. They were big on tarot cards and crystals and stuff like that. And me and my cousin Dino, we weren't supposed to watch because we were too young, you know, like 7. I was 7. I think he was 8. But we would belly crawl down the hallway in the dark and watch from the corner of the hallway. And we would see the candelabras, like the flames going up and down and dancing and all kinds of stuff, you know? And it was magical to us, you know, and you know, until somebody seen this, and then they would, you know, kick us in the ass and send us back into the bedroom. But yeah, so you know, when you grow up around that kind of family, the paranormal is normal, you know, and that's just the way. So I got a couple of cousins that are so sensitive, so psychic. They have, doesn't matter where they live, stuff happens to them all the time. I'm constantly going over to their houses and cleansing and sealing and binding, but it doesn't matter. And they're deadly afraid of it. So you know, they won't even acknowledge it because they're so afraid of their abilities, you know. And
Really?
yeah. And I mean, I have a lot of abilities, like all the clairs, but I can't just go and do something. Like I have a team psychic who reads everything through me. She says I'm a conduit. She's amazing. I can't do it, the stuff she does. What happens with me is I'll go to an investigation and I'll hear a voice in my head say, touch the wall. And I'll touch the wall. And then I'll hear the voice say, okay, now touch the door. And I'll touch the door. And then I'll get an image of something in my mind's eye, you know? And then I'll ask like somebody who's on the investigation, the researcher or whatever, and I'll say, you know, was this house ever used for like the what do you call it, the Underground Railroad or something, you know? And they would say, yeah, how did you know, you know? And I was like, I just got the image of slaves, you know? And that's how it works with me. I have to be told, touch this, feel that, you know. I just can't go out and like I'll go out and I'll get smells, I'll get taste in my mouth, I'll get metallic taste, I'll get pressure in my temples and stuff like that. I get a lot of different clairs, but they have to come to me. I just can't reach out, open up to them, you know? Yeah. So that's how it works with me, you know?
Yeah, real quick. Anyone trying to chat? My chat is down. I don't know why. It just says the IP address is not found. So I don't know what's going on. It's got to be on the restreams end. So sorry, guys.
Yeah, I see Robert and
do you
Night
really?
Radio. Yeah, on my chat, in my chat room. Yeah.
That's not right. Okay. Anyway, all right. Well, I'll just have to figure it out later. Maybe it's just something on my end. But anyway, so I kind of want to back up a little bit.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So at 5 years old, did you know what was going on? Did you understand that what you were seeing?
Well, I knew my grandmother. The funeral parlor was across the street from my house.
Okay.
You know what I mean? I knew my grandmother was there because we just left her there. You know, like an hour before when we closed the doors, and then I come home, and of course I'm 5 years old, so I got to go to bed early. You know, and I'm in bed, and then boom, she comes to me to tuck me in. You know, so I knew that. I wasn't scared because it was my grandmother, you know, and she's talking to me in Italian. And so I wasn't afraid or anything, but I knew she had passed and she was dead and she was across the street, but she was there with me too at the same time, you know?
So what's up, Robert? What's up, Nighthawk Radio? Oh, you guys tune in. You'll find the show on Nighthawk Radio, also nighthawkradio.com. I forgot to say that at the beginning, but yeah, you guys tune in and check it out. So all my episodes will be on there too. And they've got a bunch of other great guys on there who talk about different things as well. So go check them out, or check us out rather. But yeah, man, I've always been fascinated when little kids see stuff or experience that stuff. I mean, did you get scared? Did it freak you out, Edie?
No, it was my grandmother. Why would I be afraid? You know what I mean? I seen her my whole life. She lived with us since the day I was born, so I wasn't afraid. I mean, she looked exactly like she did when she was alive. Yeah.
That's pretty cool. And I guess you seem to be around some good family members who probably didn't think you were crazy, right?
Oh man, I can't tell you. There was a time in 2012 where I seen UFOs day and night. I would go to work. I commuted 60 miles each way. So I would go to work and it would be dark. I'd come home from work, it'd be dark. And I would see UFOs coming and going. I think it was one November. I seen so many UFOs. I called my brother at the time, was living in Michigan. And I said, Frank, I think I'm losing my mind, man. And he said, oh, bring a camera, do this, do that. And every time I brought a camera and I would see the UFO pull over to take a picture, the camera never worked. And then as soon as I would get home, the camera worked fine, and it's good to have family members. Like my sister's intuitive, and so I would call my brother and he would talk to me, and I'd call my sister and she would talk to me, and and it's good to have family that understands, so no, you're not losing your mind. It's you've had a special connection with these things since you were 10 years old, and yada yada yada, so I mean, it's just crazy stuff,
Do any of your family members join you on your adventures?
No, my brother is living in Connecticut now. He moved back from Michigan, and my sister lives in Florida. So but I did have a cousin. My cousin Sean was coming out with me last year. I took him out to a haunted hotel. We did some investigations there, and I took him out to my sacred site where I have my Sasquatch clan that I deal with, and again, he's very, very psychic as well. And I told him, I said, Sean, the 4 times that we've been out, right? 4 times we've been out. I was like, 4. I said, the stuff that you experience, most people don't experience in a lifetime, because we experience stuff. It didn't matter if we were at a haunted location or if we were at the sacred site. We experienced stuff that was off the charts. And I say it all the time, not in my wildest imagination did I ever expect to see that. But I hear myself saying that all the time, though, like it sounds stupid when you say it all the time, but every time you go out, you see something different. If you see a Wendigo or a skinwalker or a rake or Bigfoot or a dog, man, I mean, it's like, it's crazy, like we're going out strictly squatching tonight, and we see everything but a Sasquatch. You know what I mean? I mean, it's just, or we go out to the haunted houses, and you're expecting to get a knock or this or that, and we have stuff happen. We had a spirit of a serial killer throw this lady who was sitting 2 rows over from us into the lady that was in front of us, because she was in his way. He threw her out of the way. She went flying into the lady in front of me. They both went on the floor, and the spirit ran through me. And I felt it run through me. And I didn't say anything because I felt that before. But Sean was standing behind me. My cousin Sean is a 20-year-old kid. He's like 6'5". And when it ran through him, he freaked out. He was like, dude, it just ran through me, And I was like, easy, brother, easy. These things happen, And so, yeah, we've experienced some amazing stuff, yeah.
And
He's really my only cousin that comes out with me. All my other cousins have been breaking my chops my whole life about this stuff. You know what I mean? I got one cousin, he breaks, I've been hunting my whole life.
Right,
bada beep, bada boop, I never see nothing, yada thing, bada beep. And then one day I get a phone call, yo, cuz, you're not gonna believe what happened today. Mm-hmm. So what happened? So I'm coming over. I got to talk to you face to face. He says, I was up in the tree stand here in New York. When you're bow hunting, you're not allowed to carry firearms. So he didn't have a sidearm, he didn't have a rifle with him. He's up on the tree stand with his bow, and he hears something come barreling through the woods, just taking trees down. Boom, boom, boom. And he's in a bowl. There's a ridge all around him. He's in a tree in this bowl, and this thing is charging right towards him. And he's like, what the hell is coming through the woods? And I know the woods he was hunting in. Everything lives in these woods. And he says something came right up to the edge of the bowl and just looked at him and screamed at him. He said it almost knocked him out of the tree. And he said at that point, he got out of his tree stand, he got in his truck, and he drove away, and he's never hunted that location again. And he's hunted there for 30 years. And he goes, dude, I'm telling you, and I think it was a Sasquatch. You know, he wasn't sure what it was because he couldn't get eyes on it because it was like right in the tree line. But he said, whatever it was, looked down at me and screamed at me. He wanted me out of there, you know? And I was like, yeah, I know. I've been there, done that, you know? I know, yeah.
So,
and I got stories like that from like my best friend who I played football with in high school. And I got stories I got from my neighbor, another guy who hunted. And all of these guys are big hunters, and you know, and in the woods 30 years, nothing ever happens. And then something happens and they never go back to their spots ever again. And I was like, well, why don't you go back? He goes, I'm not going back there. I said, but you've been going there for 30 years. Nothing's ever happened to you. Why won't you go back now? No, I'm not going back. You know,
and it's kind of cool being the guy, you know, that okay, something happened. I know who I'm going to call and talk to about this, you know, because it happens to me too. You know, then friends and family.
You know what's really good? Being that guy that said, I told you so. You know, you've been breaking my chops for 30 years. And now, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I had a friend of mine. I used to work at this one place, and every single Monday I'd walk in, and he'd be like, "Did you find Bigfoot? Did you find Bigfoot?" Every single freaking morning, right? Then one day he calls me. He says, "Hey, come here. I gotta talk to you." Like, what's up? He goes, "I got one of my friends that lives in Conroe, which is just north of Houston and just a little bit south of where I do most of the research, Bigfoot research. It's in the San Houston Forest." And so I'm like, he's like, "I got a friend in Conroe. He lives out in the country. There's like a big ravine that runs behind his property. It's a big wooded area, and he's got 3 dogs. And he came home the other morning. One of his dogs was ripped in half and just left there.
Oh, wow.
And he's like, I don't think anything else could have killed it other than, you know, something with hands that ripped it in half, because he said it was thin in the middle, or like something grabbed it and just pulled it apart, you know."
Oh man!
Yeah. But so I talked to that guy, and he's like, "That was my guard dog. That was my guard dog. He let me know when something was around us. That's probably why he got killed. They might shut him up." You know?
Yeah, they're making too much noise. Absolutely.
You're giving us away, so we gotta put a stop to that. Yeah, but it's fun being that guy, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I love it when when relatives or friends come to me and say, "Dude, you're not gonna believe what I seen." You know, I had one of my one of my best friends growing up, play football and lacrosse with him. Just a great guy. He was hunting out in Pennsylvania, all in camo, 30-06 in his hand, leaning up against a tree. Something splashing around in the swamp below him. He thinks it's, you know, maybe a big buck or something. He's waiting for this thing to come out of the tree. Above him on top of the mountain, he hears 2 whoops. He looks up on top of the mountain like, what the hell was that? And something comes running out of the swamp. They said it was like 7 feet tall. He said it had to be 1,000 pounds. He said it ran right past him. He said its legs were like tree trunks. And when it ran past him, it looked down at him to acknowledge him. And then he said it ran up this cliffside of a mountain. He said it went up that mountain in like 10 seconds. He said, and I was sitting there the whole time with my gun in my hand. And he goes, the thought of taking my gun and shooting this thing never crossed my mind. He said, Al, he goes, my eyes couldn't comprehend. My brain couldn't comprehend what my eyes were seeing. He says, and it ran right past me. And he said, and it looked down at me and acknowledged me. He goes, you know, and I was in full camo, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah. I said, yeah. He said, he'll never forget that experience, you know?
Yeah. I don't think he would.
No, and he doesn't like to talk about it too because he's still a big hunter, and it freaks him out if I bring it up around hunting season. He's like, "Stop! Don't talk to me about it. I want to go out in the woods," And I do it just to bust his
Yeah,
chops because he's been busting my
yeah,
chops for
of
30
course.
years.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. That's such a guy thing to do, but that's what we do to each other.
yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So, what about you? Have you ever been in a situation where you were scared or shaken up pretty good?
Not scared. I won't go out with any kind of subconscious fear. My psychic taught me a long time ago that if you have subconscious fear, it's like putting a bullseye on you. And what we do is when we go out with a group, when the whole team goes out, the psychic will call me and she'll say, "Okay, where are you going?" And she's, "I'm starting to see this, I'm starting to see that." And because we don't tell her where we're going or what we're doing, we just call her when we get to a location and say, "Okay, what are you seeing? What are you feeling?" But she always calls me like before we go, and she says, "Okay, this one can't go or that one can't go. They got subconscious fear, and there's something dark in those woods, and it will definitely attach to them, so they can't go." So I've kind of trained myself never to let fear creep in. You know what I mean? I won't allow it. The first time I was out with my cousin Sean, we were experiencing all kinds of things, and we were experiencing something that my psychic called a bear squatch. She said it was big like a Sasquatch, but it had a bear head. She said it was from a different realm, and they didn't know what people were. And she said we were going to experience. And I never go out looking for what she says we're going to see, because the shit she tells me is so off the charts. I tell her all the time, "Cindy, what are you smoking?" You know what I mean? But at the end of the night, when you check all the boxes, she's right. Well, at one time I was out with my cousin Sean, and we were having these experiences, and I felt like this fear coming over Sean. I felt it coming up his legs, and it got to about its knees. And I was just about to say something like, "Sean, don't let this fear overtake you," when he pushed it back down and he pushed it out of him. And I just turned to him and I was like, "Dude, I am so impressed that what you just did." And he's like, "What do you mean?" I go, "Sean, I just felt the fear starting to rise through your legs, and you pushed it down and out of you." I said, "I'm really impressed, for a 20-year-old kid to be able to do that." And he was like, "How did you feel? How did you know?" This kid finishes my sentences when we're out in the woods. I'll think it, and it's like he hears it, and he'll say something. It's freaky, yeah, freaky, freaky, freaky. It really is. He's really sensitive, and much more sensitive than I am, and but that really impressed the crap out of me. And the last time we were out, we had a dog man follow us out of the woods, and again, he never let fear creep in, and we just I said, "No, we're just gonna walk out of here at our own pace, and nothing's gonna happen to us, and let's just do what we do." And we had a really weird experience along the trail, but I mean, the dog man never, I mean, other than screaming at us from about 50 feet away from us, I mean, he could have probably jumped off this ridge and mauled both of us and killed us. You know what I mean? But he was screaming at us. And I think personally, I think it was the same dog man whose den I found. And then he came to my house, to let me know he knew where I live and I knew where he lived. And it was weird because where I go, the east part of the lake of the woods is the dogman side, and the west part is the Sasquatch side. And they're never really on each other's side unless one is not there. And I go to the sacred site all the time. I've been investigating the site for solid 10 years. And every time I go there, the thought never crosses my mind if the dogman's den is still being used, on the other side of the woods. That particular night, the thought popped into my head. I wonder if the dogman is still out here, because I haven't been back to the den since he came to my house. No sooner did that thought pop into my head when the dog man went off on the west side of the woods. He went off. Sean and I recorded it. The coyotes went off, and that was early in the evening. And then everything kind of settled down. But as we were leaving, when we came down off the sacred site is on a high plateau, and it's like a mile off the beaten path. And when we came down off the high plateau, and we went down this little hill, the dog man was like right behind us, and he just screamed at us. And this scream, like Sean was behind me, and it went through Sean and it went through me. And we both turned around with our headlamps to see where it was, because we knew where the scream came from. And I don't know if it jumped down behind a stone wall or off onto the side of the cliff, so we couldn't see it. But it was a second it screamed, it was behind us, and then it wasn't there anymore. But we can feel it following us out.
Looks like he kind of froze there for a second. Hope everybody can hear him. Let's see. We were both having some weather issues. So still raining here in Texas, and where he is at, it's raining there too. So let's see this. Let me boot him off. Let me send him a message real quick. So, in some other news, I talked to a kid here locally. He called me up. He found me because all my information is available. And just outside of Houston, near the San Luis Forest, he got chased by what he thinks was a dog man, but we think it's a Bigfoot. I mean, he described it as an upright creature. He didn't see the ears, but the reason why he says dog man is because another gentleman that as he was going into the forest, the guy was coming out, and the guy told him that there was a werewolf, but he was telling him in Spanish that there was a werewolf, and that he saw it running from the lake into the wood line, and he said it would take a man probably about 20, 25 seconds to make that little run. But he said this thing covered that ground like in 5 seconds. So he called it a werewolf. But anyway, so the kid sees it, is going down this trail, and he has to get out the other side of the forest because that's where. Hey Sandra, how you doing? Oh, you're good. So he was trying to make it out to the other side of the forest, and he starts hearing noise behind him, like the brush popping and things cracking and stuff like that. And he looks back, and that's when he sees this creature, this person, right? And as he is running, right, he's running now hard. He says he can hear this creature behind him, stomping and growling and snarling. And he makes it out of the woods. There's a street right there, and there's a street light. He says he falls down, and as he turns around, because he expects to be, ended more or less, there's nothing there. There's no creature there. But he said it was definitely on his tail. So I'm gonna try to have him on the show. He tells a story a lot better than I do. But Al's back on, so let's get with Al. What's up, buddy?
Oh, okay. I'm back. Yeah. Sorry
Yeah,
about that. We're having bad storms here in New
York.
Yeah,
no, like I was telling you too, we're having bad storms right now. So
yeah, I don't know how much you heard of the story. So that I was talking about the dog man. So
no, you were just talking about. I think around last you left off was where it jumped down, or you think it jumped down behind. Maybe
so
like a stone wall or something. Yeah.
Yeah, and so then, like I said, I was carrying like a 60-pound backpack, and normally it's a 4-mile hike out. Normally, what I'll do is I'll hike every mile take a break, a water break, and relax because I'm an old dude. I'm 62 years old, and the backpack is really heavy, And the trail we're on is a goat trail. It's really sketchy, especially at night. And so I just told Sean, we're going to hike out of here, and we're not going to stop. Not for no breaks, and we're just going to keep going, And like I said, he's a 20-year-old kid. He was like, yeah, if you want me to carry your backpack, I'll carry yours too, cuz. And I was like, no, I'll carry it. We'll get out of here. And so we're hiking down the trail, and we get like to the last mile of the trail, which is like an old mining road. And I'm keeping an eye out, making sure this creature doesn't flank us, because there's only one way in and one way out. And the last thing I want to do is fight a dog man to get out of there, And all we got on us are 18-inch machetes, 10-inch survival knives, and bear spray. So as we're hiking out, I see eye shine off to like the 2 o'clock in the woods, right? So I stop him and I say, Sean, what do you see over there? He says, I see eye shine. What color? It's amber. Yeah, I see amber too. So I'm like, all right, pull out your machete. Let's see what happens. And as we're walking out, he's originally from the city. He just moved up to the country. I said, hopefully it's just a deer. When we get closer, it turns off and it runs away, But the eye shine is pretty high up. It's like at the 5-foot level. So as we're getting closer to this eye shine, the eye shine starts walking out towards us. And it walks out onto the mining road, and it stops directly in front of us. And it's the biggest damn buck you ever seen in your life. And we're looking at it, and it's looking at us. And my cousin Sean is like, is this what deers do? And I'm like, no, this is not what deers do. And I'm like, I don't think this is a deer. I really don't. I'm not sure what we're seeing. I go, what do you see? And he describes it. I describe it. We're both seeing the same thing, because a couple of weeks earlier, I was getting a lot of UFO video over my house. So I'm not sure if we're dealing with an alien or what we're dealing with, And we're looking at this thing, and it's looking at us, and it's looking at us in our eyes, and we're looking at it, and it's like it feels like it wants to tell us something. And all of a sudden, me and Sean just start laughing hysterical. Now, we forgot all about the dog man who was following us, and we're laughing hysterical. And I'm like, he goes, do you think it's a deer? I go, no. He goes, what do you think it is? I said, I don't know. It may be a woodland creature. I don't know, something from a different dimension. And as we start to walk closer to it, and then we're only like 3 feet away from this thing, it walks past us like it's going to the other side of the trail. And then it stops and it comes back out like it's trying to tell us something. And I don't know what it was. And we laughed the last mile all the way to the car. We laughed about that whole incident, And when we get to the car, Sean goes, we should call the psychics. I said, let's call Cindy. I call Cindy, and I said, this is what happened. And we explained what happened. And she says, that was, what did she call it? She said it was a guardian of the woods, and it was there. It showed itself to you as a big buck. She says, Al, but it was, something else. And it was there to let you pass so that dog man wouldn't do anything to you, that you guys would make it out all right, Yeah. And I was like, it's funny. It's really funny, because the whole way hiking out, it's a 4-mile hike. We can hear the dog man behind us, but when we seen this thing, all of a sudden the dog man wasn't there no more. And we went from like, oh man, I hope this thing doesn't flank us and we got to find our way out of it, to like laughing hysterical because we can't believe what we're dealing with. The whole energy of the woods changed and went from like, oh crap, to like, wow, this is insane, And it was the weirdest experience. And we called Cindy, the psychic, and she's like, yeah, that was a guardian of the woods, and it was there. It came out of the woods to let you pass and to stop the dog man, And I was like, what's Cindy? I got to be honest with you. As big as this buck was, if it tried to stop that dog man would have just shredded it, And she's like, yeah, I'm not really sure what you were saying is what it was. She says, you may have seen it as a big buck, but it may have been something else, And I was like, okay, because they could put images in your mind's eye, you know what I mean? So Pretty wild stuff. Yeah, that was a crazy night. Yeah.
Yeah, Anthony in the chat says we are going into the forest tonight. Maybe we can catch him. He's talking about a dog man. Anthony's a good dude. Hey man, thanks a lot for helping me out the other day with my friend's issue. Hope you guys got that squared away. Anthony's a good dude too. He's in the San Antonio area. I had a friend of mine. His daughter was being attacked. Yeah, getting scratched and
Oh
stuff.
wow.
And yeah, so I know Anthony's in the area, so I'll call him up and yeah.
Is his daughter dating anybody that was in the military?
I don't know. Anthony would know, but
Right.
yeah, he would know all that because she just moved to San Antonio.
Okay, because I had a friend who lives in Georgia,
Mhm.
and his daughter was dating somebody who just got back from Afghanistan,
Mhm.
and this guy had a jinn attached to him.
Mhm.
And when the jinn seen my friend's daughter, it jumped off of him and it jumped onto her.
Mhm.
And it was a hell of a thing trying to figure out what we were dealing with. And it was a hell of a thing trying to find the right people to cleanse that house and seal it and bind it and to be able to kick this thing out. You know what I mean? Because
Right.
I mean, we went through a lot. Again, I have another friend who's an Arab, and his uncle was a high celic or something like that. I forgot what they called him, a cleric, and
Okay.
he knew somebody in Georgia, and through my friend's uncle, we got this cleric in Georgia to come out there and banish this thing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it was a hell of a way to figure it all out. You know, it's like, you know, it was all because her boyfriend came back from the Middle East, you know?
Yeah.
So, you know, it's always something to think about, especially when you're around army bases and stuff like that.
Well, San Antonio's a big military town. I don't know if that has anything to do with it or not.
Okay. No, I mean, it may not have nothing to
Yeah.
do with it. I'm just throwing that out there because not too many people would even think like that. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Yeah.
And because I had that experience through like one of my best friends, so I just want to put it out there, you know.
You know, how do you protect yourself? You know, whether you're going on an investigation or researching property or just day to day.
I tell everybody, especially the squatchers who go into the woods, I was like, always protect yourself physically. You know what I mean? However you deem fit, whether you want to carry a firearm or what something like that. But I protect myself spiritually and physically. I'll say a white prayer. I'll use the holy water, the holy oil. I sage before I go. I sage my equipment before I go. I sage when I get back to my car. I sage my equipment when I get back to my car because there are things in those woods that we can't see that can attach to you or your equipment that you're using to make contact with. You know what I mean? So I've had two. I've been I've had two things. How do I say this? Attached to me, but neither one were dark. They were
That's good.
because I protect against the dark stuff. The things that did attach to me were just spirits that wanted to live through my eyes one last time, you know. And when I left the location, they stayed behind. So, but yeah, I know people who refuse to protect themselves when they go out because they think they're not going to have an experience if they
Yeah.
do. And I say, dude, you're going to have an experience. If there's an experience to have, you're going to have, but you're going to protect yourself from bringing anything dark home with you.
Yeah.
You know, that's what you want to do. You don't want to bring something dark. I know too many people who've gone to those ghost tours in the cemetery or those haunted houses things and brought dark shit back with them, you know,
Yeah.
because they thought it was a joke. It's not a joke. When you go to those locations, protect yourself. Put some salt in your pocket to ground you, you know. Salt is a purification tool. Put some salt in your pocket. Use sage before you go in, sage when you come out. Say a white prayer. Hit yourself with some holy water or something. You know, whatever works for you, you know. I kind of go above and beyond because I'm anal that way. And I still had two things attached to me. Again,
Yeah.
I'm very lucky that they weren't negative, they were positive things. But still, when you have an attachment, it's a weird feeling. I don't know if you ever had one, but that you're off. You know what I mean? And
Right.
you're in denial because you don't want anybody else to know. But you're looking at your equipment that you've used for a dozen years, and you don't know how to turn it on. You know what I mean? And you're like, why can't I figure this out?
Mhm.
Because there's somebody else who was living 100 years before you that have no clue what your night vision or your thermal is or anything like that. So yeah, it's a weird feeling. Absolutely.
Yeah, I don't going in anywhere. I don't cleanse myself, but leaving I do because I'm in that camp, or at least in that belief, where if I do anything to protect myself, I'm not going to experience anything.
No, you're it's the wrong mindset, bro.
Well,
Wrong
any
mindset.
time that I've done that, I've experienced nothing.
Then there was
Nothing.
nothing to experience that night.
Well, I don't know,
The
but
only thing you're stopping the experience is something dark.
mm,
You're not stopping anything else that wants to come through and make contact with you. You're just pushing the dark stuff away. Be careful with that stuff, man.
yeah. Well, you know what? Maybe I'll change it up to where I make my intentions known. I'll push away the dark stuff. Maybe that's what I'll do. But
Yeah.
yeah, up until this point, I never did. Well, I mean, I'm not saying I never did, but every time I did, I experienced nothing. So,
Now, have you ever had an attachment?
no, not really. No,
Okay.
no. Yeah,
Okay.
I can say
Well,
no.
you're
You
very,
know,
very lucky.
yeah,
Absolutely. You're very lucky. Yeah.
yeah,
Because some
you
people
know,
have attachments and never know they have it, especially dark attachments. They
yeah,
only
yeah,
show themselves in your dreams, and people say, "Oh, I have nightmares" or stuff like that. But it's not really a nightmare. It's something dark that's attached to you that's breaking you down, subconsciously.
mhm,
So got to be careful with that stuff,
yeah.
man.
Anthony says you need to come with us, Joe. Man, buddy, I'd love to. I'm actually going out there next weekend in a place called Chalk Bluff. It's on the other side of San Antonio, like near Uvalde. So I'll be in
Hmm.
your neck of the woods, probably not too close to you. But yeah, man, I so when I said no, right, that I've never had an attachment, and I don't know if this counts or not, but like in between the years of 2017 and 2019, I was going through a very, very rough patch in my life. Um, and my dad was around me for those 2 years. He passed away in 2012. But between 2017 and 2019, he was always around me. I guess he was just checking in on me and making sure everything was good. But he let me know he was there. And I just knew that when he was around and when he wasn't. But for those 2 years, he was there, and he's kind of popped up here and there, but not like he used to. 'Cause like I said, I think he knew that I
Yeah,
needed
it's
him around at
very
that
cool.
time. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I mean, uh, I've had like four different psychics tell me my mother's with me all the time. I've never felt her. I've never heard her. I never smelled her perfume. But my cats will always be looking over my shoulder, up in the ceiling and stuff. And one time I was on the phone with one of the psychics. I was talking to her, and she's like, "Who's the old lady sitting behind you with the white hair? Is that your grandmother?" I'm like, "What old lady?" She goes, "In the teal dress." I said, "Oh, that's my mother. That's the dress we
Oh,
buried her in." Um, my father came to me the night he died. The night he died, I was sitting at home. It was New Year's Eve. I was sitting at home, and we were supposed to go to like two house parties. And I was telling my wife, "Yeah, I don't think I'm going anywhere tonight." And all of a sudden, I got a cold chill went up my spine. And when I closed my eyes, I seen my father in his youth when he was like in really great shape because he cancer ate him alive. He died
mm,
like 75 pounds, but he was like a middleweight boxer kind of guy.
yeah,
And I seen him in his youth, and he was waving goodbye to me. And I turned to my wife and I was like, "My father just died." And she's like, "What are you talking about?" I go, "My father just died. He just came by to say goodbye." And she's like, "If your father died, your brother would have called you. He's at the hospital." No sooner did she said that, the phone rang. I picked up the phone. I go, "Hello." He goes, "Al, it's Frank." I go, "Yeah, I know Dad's dead." He goes, "How do you know?" I said, "He just came by to say goodbye." And my brother's like, "Oh, you're getting like mommy, man." He goes, "You getting like mommy." And I'm like, "Dude," and it was like, that was really that was the only time I ever seen my father, and I haven't seen him since. Like I said, I don't feel them, I don't smell them. Even my dog, when my dog died, I still got his collar and hanging on the door. And every now and then I'm kind of expecting to hear it jiggle, but it's never jiggled. So, but like I said, the psychics say my mother is my guardian angel and she's always around me. And I took care of her the last 20 years of her life because my father died of cancer. And I guess she's just taking care of me now, so, but it is what it is.
Well, Wendell says, "Hey, Al, good to see you again."
I see that. Hey, Wendell, nice seeing you, brother.
Yeah, he's a good dude. I like him. You
Yeah, he's a
know,
good dude.
one thing people don't talk about a lot. I mean, I guess we do mention it from time to time, but animals. People who have experienced their animals have passed or whatever. And my uncle actually has a really good story about his dog. And I don't know, he said hi earlier in the chat. I don't know if he's still here or not. But yeah, after one of his dogs passed. That particular dog loved playing with balls, right? The other dogs didn't really care for him, but he loved playing with the bouncy balls. So after he passed away, he put them up, like in a closet on the top shelf. And one day he comes home and one of his other dogs has one of the balls in his mouth. You know, like where did his dog get the ball from?
Yeah, how to get up in the closet and get it?
Yeah, yeah, that's it. That was pretty cool.
Yeah, we have jingle bells on our front door, right? My wife put these jingle bells on the doorknob one Christmas when the dog was like a year old. I had a German Shepherd, and whenever he wanted to go out, he'd hit it with his nose. He'd ring the bell.
Oh yeah, okay.
And we let him out. And to this day, my wife won't take those bells off that door. They're still there. The dog has been dead like 7 years now, And every now and then I kind of expect in the middle of the night to hear that bell ring, but I've never heard him ring, not yet, so, but it was a great dog, but yeah, no, I mean, I've never experienced it. I seen a ghost cat one time. I was at an investigation and I was sitting on the floor and the lady had a table, but the table was like a coffin. It was our coffee table in her house. And I'm sitting there and I see this black cat run underneath the table. And I go over and I reach out because I'm a cat guy and a dog guy. I reach out to pet it and I like go to grab its tail and it pulled its tail down so I couldn't grab it. And it kind of just laid down underneath this coffee table that was a coffin. So then when the guy finished talking, everybody was getting up to go to different parts of this giant mansion. And I told the people, there was like 4 women sitting on a couch next to the coffee table. I tell the women, I said, listen, be careful when you get up. You don't step on the cat, because I look like a real cat to me.
Right,
and the owner of the house says, what cat, Al? I said,
yeah.
The cat that's underneath the coffee table. She started laughing hysterical. She goes, I don't own any cats. I own a couple of dogs. I go, then whose cat is underneath the table? She goes, the last lady that owned the house was a cat lady. She had cats. She goes, that must have been one of her ghost cats. Huh. It looked as real as you or me right now. I'm telling you, I reached out to pet it. That's how real it looked, I couldn't believe it. I was like, holy crap, I see the ghost cat,
Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah,
it was wild, man,
We went on an investigation.
Animals.
This past October, last October, we went to it's called the 1899 Bolton House here in Texas. And we went there, and it wasn't until 2-3 weeks later, going through all our evidence or whatever, one of the girls heard a dog bark on her, clear as day, and it didn't sound like it was outside. There's a difference when a dog barks inside and outside,
Oh, without a doubt. Yeah.
It was a small dog. You hear it bark twice. It's, what the hell is that from? And we told the lady, she's like, oh, now people have captured a dog barking with before too. So we thought that was...
Did she have a dog at one time, the lady?
No. She never ever actually lived in this house. She actually bought it and fixed it up, and she had a friend of hers come over who was psychic and touring the house. She told her, you got a lot of activity here, man. Sure enough, she's got all the teams that visit there have experiences, so it's pretty.
That's great, man. Yeah, that's amazing.
Yeah. But so what about you? What kind of equipment do you like to use? What kind of tools do you use?
One of my favorite all-time pieces of equipment is my parabolic mic. I love my parabolic mic, man,
Yeah,
especially when I'm out in the woods. It's amazing. I mean, it makes stuff sound like it's right next to you. If
yeah.
it's like a half a mile away, it sounds right. That's one of my favorite pieces of equipment to use. I mean, I love my my thermal, and I
Mhm.
love my night vision stuff. You know what I mean? I love it all, but I mean, um, lately I've gone back to like a lot of old school stuff. I've gone back to dowsing rods and quartz crystal pendulums and compasses. I'm using 35 millimeter again because I'm tired of all the
Yeah.
pareidolia with the digital stuff, and I'm using Polaroids, and I just
Okay.
kind of went old school. I was on an investigation. I don't know if you know who John Zaffis is, the haunted
No,
collector. Well, he's very
no.
famous. Famous. He's like the godfather of the paranormal. And I was on an investigation with him, and everybody was pulling out all their modern stuff, and I was pulling out all my old school stuff. And he looked at me and he goes, "What's this 1975 again?" And I was like, "Yeah, man." I said, "I'm tired of all the nonsense on the
Yeah,
digital world." You know, I even got one of those small little reel to reel recorders. You know,
yeah,
uh,
yeah.
the caught a lot of great stuff on that stuff too, man. Lately, I've been doing a lot of uh, investigations. Like we up here in up in the Northeast, we have these things. They're called ancient stone chambers.
Mhm.
They're these giant stone chambers. Nobody knows who built them. The stones are like 10-ton stones. You know what I mean? And these chambers, they're built all over up the Northeast. Well, we were out last summer, right around this time, and we were investigating these chambers, and we have a lot of success in these chambers. We've opened up a portal in one. I don't know if you ever seen the show Skinwalker Ranch.
Mhm.
You
Yeah.
seen what you ever see the episode where the rabbi comes in and he starts chanting and all the
Mhm.
colors change
Mm-mm.
inside? Well, they had the night vision stuff going in one of these cottages, and a rabbi come in and he started doing this prayer, and all the colors changed on the thermal imagers. Well, we
Mm.
did that in one of these stone chambers, and about 10 years before the Skinwalker Ranch did it, and we got the same effect.
Really,
Actually,
that's pretty cool.
something popped out from a different dimension and popped out and looked at us and then popped back in. But lately, we were there last summer, and I was doing my stuff with the dowsing rods and the quartz crystal pendulums, and I was asking questions, you know, spin this way, spin that way, cross, open up, yada yada yada. And then we went back at night, and that was during the day. I like to do day night stuff to see how the energy changes, you know.
Mhm.
And we went back at night, and the thought hit me. He says, instead of going back into the chamber with the quartz crystal pendulum and asking questions, why don't I attach the pendulum to the tripod that the camera's on so it just hangs freely and ask the questions telepathically and see what happens? And the shit worked, bro. Whatever was in that chamber, not only did it hear me when I spoke verbally, but it heard my thoughts,
Mm.
and it was amazing to to make contact with something telepathically. And I've
Yeah.
come to the and it also works. I also did this with the UFOs I was dealing with last October, right? I had these UFOs over my house, and they always came out around the same time, and I filmed them like 4 weeks in a row. And then one morning I was I get up 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work, and I walk out the front door, and the UFO was there, and I'm like, oh man, I'm too tired for you, bro. It's 4 o'clock in the morning, you know.
Mhm.
Come back tonight around 8, you know. And little voice in my head said, stop, film this. I stopped and I started filming. The voice said, this is important. And it said, ask it to acknowledge you, but ask it telepathically.
Mm.
So I'm filming and I ask it, if you can see me, give me a sign. And the thing, I should send you the video. The UFO, it looked like it flashed me, right? But when you actually watch the video, it expands like 10 times its size, and
Hmm.
then it shrinks back down.
Hmm.
I was like, oh crap, it heard my thoughts. Not only the entities in the chambers heard my thoughts, but now the UFOs are hearing my thoughts. What else hears my thoughts telepathically? What else am I dealing with out here that can hear my thoughts telepathically? Yeah, it was wild stuff,
Yeah,
man.
that sounds pretty cool. Yeah, I'd love to see that video.
Oh yeah, I'll send it to you.
Yeah.
It's amazing. It's amazing because I was so tired at 4 o'clock in the morning to go to work. I didn't even want to acknowledge it. I was like, "Oh, the hell with you, man. I'm too tired. I got to go to work." Yeah. When I got to work, I was so amped up because of what I experienced that my adrenaline was going through the roof. It was pretty wild. Yeah. Hey Jen, I see Jen is in the chat. Hey Jen.
Yeah, yeah, great. JV's great. She's awesome.
Yeah, she's amazing. Yes.
So yeah, man, dude, we're already come up at the end of the show, man. You can believe that.
Wow, it
Yeah,
was quick.
yeah, it's quick. Yeah, we got so much more I'd love to talk to you about. And we're gonna have you on the show again in another month or so.
Oh yeah, man. We didn't
Yeah,
even touch the tip of the iceberg when it
yeah,
comes to me and my personal stuff,
yeah,
my experiences and stuff. Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, so if you want, you can let people know where to contact you, how to find you, and let people know what
Yeah.
you're up to.
You could reach out to me on Facebook Messenger. That's the easiest way to get me, private chat, or you could reach out to me on the Bronxville Paranormal Society, all on Facebook. The New York State UFO Project, I'm the director of. The New York State Sasquatch Organization, I'm the director of. The New York State Dogman, I'm the director of. The North American Dogman Project, Region 3, I'm the director of Region 3. So any of those sites, you can reach out to me. I haven't posted anything on YouTube in forever. But if you want to talk to me or you got questions, just reach out. I'm very accessible and I'll answer any question you got. And I will definitely send you that video tonight when I get off of here.
Cool, man. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Yeah, you're gonna
Thank
love
you again
this,
for
man.
coming on, man, dude. You were a great guest, man.
Oh,
I
no
talked to you all
problem.
night long.
Anytime.
Yeah, I would love to talk to you all night long if I could. And everyone
Oh yeah.
else, y'all go find JV and Paranormal NL podcast. She's a great person, man. Yeah, she has some great stuff too of her own.
Yeah, she's a
Check her out.
sweetheart.
And everyone else in the chat, thanks for participating. You guys did great as always. I have a show next Monday. Don't ask me who I have. I never know who I have. But other than that, man, like I said, Al, man, dude, if you need me to share anything for you, shoot it at me, tag me in it, whatever you want to do. I'll be
Okay.
more than happy to share it. Yeah. And Sandra, thank you for joining in today. I hope you're feeling better. And everyone else, we will see you next week. Don't go anywhere, Al.